And away we go.
And it's episode 16, part one. That's Steve. People were confused. I actually talked to somebody who was confused on who's who. That's Steve.
I'm Steve.
I'm Al.
Yeah.
Episode 16, part one, brought to you by Phonetic. This is a street taco, Korean style, obviously, with shrimp.
I got the banh mi. This is one half of it. It's a pretty big sandwich. And, of course, I had to make a lame joke to the waitress and said, here's your banh mi. And I said, banh you too.
Yeah. just one further note. If you have not been before, I recommend going lunch or midday. My wife has some frustrations with the way they've been in the evenings, but we have never had any complaints about going there at lunchtime. So, anyways, so we were going to begin with what we called Trump being Trump, which, if you've been watching this or know us at all, it's not a compliment. But it's
I'm really going to slow down.
Sure, it's gotten worse. It started as, you know, he's a liar and con man, and now it's got into the point where, again, it's things that if you've been paying attention, he's not saying anything new. It comes across as new to people who don't like what he's saying and might have voted for him or supported him or somehow whatever, but it's not actually new. I think our first example, or one of our first examples, was the situation in Gaza, for example. I'm using that phrase too much, so as soon as you take a bite. But what I mean by that is there were, unfortunately, if you go back to, you know, about a year ago, there were plenty of people who gave Biden and Kamala a hard time about Gaza. And the problem with that is that the U.S. has always supported Israel. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but they did not necessarily do so more than the U.S. has always done so. However, Trump, by comparison, has gone the extreme of saying things like, oh, we're going to build property on the remains of what was Gaza and blah, blah, you know, things of this nature. And now he's following through with that support and that rhetoric and that kind of thing.
And, you know, it starts to make you wonder, what was the plan to begin with? But anyways, yeah, I think this, you know, it all goes back to the, you know, original settlement, you know, what happened over there and what their original idea was. And it was to basically move everyone out and put themselves in. And this is just one more example of this narrative that they're somehow trying to coexist with the people that were indigenous to that area is not true. It's never been true. It's never been true since day one. And they've been disingenuous since day one. And they broke every treaty. And
by day one, we don't mean October a couple of years ago. We mean back in 1943 or 47 or whatever.
Right. Any notion that this has never been anything more than another form of colonialism or imperialism or expansion, you know, from the British, the Americans, using Israel, and then you had some Christian fundamentalists on board as well, but they go hand in hand with this, you know, Christian nationalist, you know, manifest destiny shit. So it all lines right up. So this was their, you know, so this is, what do you think? It gives them the prime excuse, and they're always looking for one. Always looking for one. And Gaza happens to be one of the very small areas that's kind of prime real estate that they had left. A shred of decent land that they had given them is, you know, is going to be taken away from them, and they're going to build condos, you know, and Trump will probably try to get a couple condos.
Well,
I mean, that's basically,
yeah.
you know,
And just a reminder of the most recent incident that happened is we finally managed to get food out there, and they pew-pewed people trying to get the food. I mean, as they were trying to do it. I mean, there's no two ways about it. That's what the Israeli soldiers were doing. Mm-hmm. And we've got it on film. We've got people who saw it, who witnessed it. I mean, it's not a question of if it happened.
Yeah, so basically, I'll just say one more thing, and maybe we can table it there, because we could have a whole discussion on this. But essentially, they are committing genocide. Their atrocities are equal to any other atrocity that's ever occurred in human history, as far as taking over land and just murdering people because you want it for yourself. That's the bottom line. So,
and have the power to do it. Yeah.
And have the power to do it in the U.S. backing. Because we need a military base there. Who has nuclear weapons in the region? Who's a nuclear power there? Israel. So that,
yeah.
So what was the next one?
Well,
I'm not sure why he stopped it. We were just going to move on.
oh yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we can always you can string them together.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to string. I'm just. Oh yeah, I'm going to have to.
Oh, did I stop? Did I?
You stopped it.
No, because it's showing it's going now. So
Yeah, but it's going at like 15 seconds.
Oh.
I'll string it together.
The Department of Health. That's the next one, and we've talked about this before, but the latest development, in case you haven't heard, and I almost hadn't heard, is that because of, I've often said that RFK makes Trump look sane. Trump is not sane. So when I say that RFK does this, it's a description of RFK, not of Trump. But the point is that because of the things that he has recently said and done, there's been a falling out of how many people are we talking? Maybe.
I don't know. I don't want to give a number.
Dozens, if not hundreds, of people
A lot.
in the CDC related healthcare
Well, I think
units.
what's most important is some of the top.
Some of
ranking.
the top ranking and most
yeah.
important individuals are just quitting. They're basically saying, you know what? If this is going to hell in a handbasket, I'm not staying on the handbasket anymore.
Right. What you're doing is going to kill people.
Right.
So, once again, this is Trump putting somebody in a position, the worst Kennedy.
Yeah, by far.
And he's this conspiracy theorist who thinks that vaccines cause autism and he's got all kinds of crazy ideas. Some of his stuff is, okay. Like, obviously, do health, eat healthy. Some of these. Yeah,
but if you look at how he eats, he doesn't know what healthy is.
And he goes fanatical with some of this shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, basically, I always subscribe to moderation of everything. I eat a little bit of everything. Like, I'm in pretty good health. I don't,
yeah.
like, I think that
you have some carbs, you have some sugar, whatever.
Right, but I limit my carbs, and I don't do refined sugar hardly at all anymore.
Yeah.
But I try to limit in what kind of carbs I get and what kind of sugars I get. I don't eliminate completely anything, At one point I did meat. I don't anymore. I don't know how I'm justifying that in my brain for the way they torture these animals and shit, but I can see not eating meat, and you can get away with it. So, but the point is, everything in moderation, everything in tune to your body, and just stay healthy. Anytime you go to these extremes, like he does with anything, it's not sustainable or it's unhealthy. Bottom line, like it's just
yeah.
And I think that anytime, and people go, oh, well, look at the CDC and all these different agencies, and they told us the food pyramid, eat all the carbs. You know who bought, that was paid for by the grain industry. That was paid for by the milk industry. That was paid for by the, all these ads you saw coming up and all these things. Yes, that was these lobbyists from these different, creating this stuff and hiring scientists. These weren't, this is bought and paid for bullshit. I get it. I could get how people can say, well, they told us at one time, blah, blah, blah. But we know better. We know better now. You can't just deny science because some unscrupulous scientists who got bought and paid for, just like they did with tobacco. Oh, we're not sure. Everybody fucking knew it causes cancer. But you still had assholes.
They knew that back in the late 1700s or something.
Right, they knew it forever. It wasn't news. So anyways, yeah, you can sit there and say this bullshit about how science has always been wrong with health and things like that. And I bitch about, some of this science, alleged pseudoscience behind, we'll get into this later about, mental health is, I don't buy into a lot of that shit either. But I certainly believe there's a science behind it.
Right.
There's a thought process behind it.
For the most part.
And you evolve and you learn new things.
If something scientific comes out that disproves what's been happening, there will be, if nothing else, a gradual changeover. I mean,
so you can't just poo-poo everything, and you can't just say crap that doesn't make any sense. So that's what he does, and he's a moron. He's an idiot. But this is the type of dude he puts into these positions because he is, he's controversial. He's out to get, certain people that he wants to get out to get to. So. I don't know what else you want to say about that clown.
Well,
but it's going to kill people.
Just that we were already saying that, X, Y, and Z was happening to our healthcare system in the U.S. to basically destroy it. And, here's another thing, and it's just going to speed it up. It's more bad news on bad news as far as the healthcare. And at this rate, there are people already losing their healthcare. There are hospitals that are already closing. And if you're lucky enough to still have healthcare in 6 months, it's going to be more expensive. And the prescriptions are going to be more expensive. And there's no dodging that reality.
And now, if you had any skepticism whatsoever about the healthcare industry or what they're doing in certain things, you better have like now nobody who's even got any credentials is going to be around. There's just going to be a bunch of quacks and loonies giving you complete other bullshit.
Or they're going to be charging you twice as much if they're worth anything.
Because they shut
yeah.
down. Well, I'm not talking about the actual. I'm talking about what's coming from the.
Oh yeah,
from the administration.
The administration.
You can't believe a fucking word they say.
Well, when they get away with the job numbers and replaced, that was kind of the final straw in believing anything that they had to say about anything.
Right. So moving on, what's the next one?
Trump rulings and backlash on.
No.
Oh,
we should have more of these.
Oh yeah.
That's part 2.
Oh, the architecture. Yeah. I'll let you explain that one better.
So Trump, here first he started with the Smithsonian. And he wanted to, cut a bunch of stuff out of there. Then he wanted to, what was the one?
The ballroom, or is that really?
Where he wanted to, he's going to have a committee that's going to determine what music, the Carnegie Hall, was it?
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember.
I think you might be right, though.
But the bottom line is this, and on this example here, with the architecture, who was an architect? Who was really into architecture? And who closed down the Bauhaus? And who burned the paintings? Who called?
Can we say, man?
Who had a whole thing of artists that he listed as degenerate?
For those of you who are listening and not watching, that's Mustache Man.
Yeah. Who had a whole thing about degenerative art? And named off a bunch of artists, and a bunch of them had to leave. Kandinsky, all these dudes left Germany. Were under a lot of pressure. There was paintings being burned. There was an exhibit called Degenerate Art, where they just had all these, paintings that today are in the, Museum of Modern Art and Art Institute of Chicago and the Louvre. That was degenerative art to Hitler. What does this sound like to you? When he's going to dictate in all these different museums and everything else what's going to be in there because he gets to determine what fine art is? Come on, man.
Which is
this is all lighted up once again.
I mean, even if he had a degree in fine art, which furthest thing from the truth, but hypothetically,
right.
That's not part of his fucking job. Right. I mean, okay.
And the thing is he was a failed artist, and the reason he was a failed artist is because he didn't draw people, because he's a psychopath. And his art was so robotic. It was just, look, people say, oh, his art sucked. No, it didn't. If you look at it, he would have been a really good architect.
You're talking Mustache Man.
Yeah, his landscapes and things like that, they're pretty competent.
They're decent, yeah.
They're competent art. I mean, if you went to art school, he'd probably be one of the top students, tell you honestly, in this day and age, when anybody goes in there, as far as having technical skills and abilities to draw something. But he certainly didn't focus on people because he's a psychopath. But when he got rejected from art school, because none of his drawings are not to be an artist is more than to draw. There's some philosophy behind your art. I mean, during that time, you had these movements. You had surrealism, and you had, post-impressionistic and expressionism.
If you weren't leading a movement, you'd better be a part of a movement.
Or leading, or coming up with something different. If you want to go to these prestigious schools, just because you can draw, that's not good enough. Well, he got rejected twice, and that was part of his burning desire to get back at the world and burn their paintings because he didn't like them for that. And that might be the next one that's on the Trump thing, his windmill thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that the final one?
I think that is the final one.
Did we get them all? I can't read because I don't have my glasses.
So Health and Services, beautiful federal architecture.
Federal architecture, yeah, beautiful. Just like that beautiful bill.
Right.
And then, so he canceled $679 million in federal funding for offshore wind projects. His latest attack on the reeling offshore wind industry. Now, here's the funny thing. This all goes back, I think, to Scotland when he was having his one of his golf courses built out there, and they had the windmills, and he wanted to tear it down or something. Look, he got this thing up his butt years ago
about women,
and I think
we're not quite sure where it came from. But.
Right, I think it might have originated too off of one of his houses or something he was trying to sell, and there was windmills off the coast. But he got this thing up his ass about windmills. I got a couple different occasions that I can recall in the past, but I don't know exactly what all the details are. So now he's like got this vendetta. Like, just like the Mustache Man kind of thing. Like, here's a guy who gets hurt and wounded over something, and he's just going to attack and lash out on people. I mean, his whole damn agenda is nothing more than lashing out and attacking the country, you know, and being cruel.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, half the stuff that he does is to get rid of the legislation because Obama or Biden came up with it, and then do something very similar because it was actually smart. You know, it was like, what the fuck?
No, not always. But.
Well, no, but you get my point. I mean,
No.
he doesn't do the second part often enough, but the first part all the time.
Or he might say something like that at one point in time when he's just rambling because it doesn't make any sense anymore. But never.
Well, he didn't make sense before. He just makes even less sense now.
All right, we're going to get to that part too. So yeah, this whole segment was just, and we were trying to come up with psychopathy. This is just the psychopathy, I think, is right, of Trump's diluted and distorted brain processes, and you know, the stupid shit that he's just, you know, perpetuating time and time again to prove the point over and over again that he's a fascist moron and he's going to destroy this fucking country.